I now give the floor to Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank the Assistant Secretary General, Mr. Miroslav Yenka, for his briefing. I have listened carefully to the intervention of Mr. Roger Waters. 10 years have passed since the Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 2202, supporting a number of measures taken to implement the Minsk Agreements and calling upon all parties to fully implement these measures, including ensuring a comprehensive ceasefire. This resolution, back then, was the fruit of relentless work that gave the ultimate priority to preventive diplomacy. This event was supposed to set an example of the benefits of constructive dialogue and negotiations in ending violence and fighting. However, unfortunately, this was not the case. This did not go down in history as a success story. On the contrary, we meet today as the situation in the region has grown more complicated. Confrontations have spread further and become more severe. Until this day, more and more innocent civilians are losing their lives, including women and even children. The security and humanitarian situations continue to deteriorate. There are millions of displaced and large-scale destruction to civilian infrastructure, such as homes, hospitals, schools, universities, and critical energy infrastructure. What is even worse is that the hope that accompanied the Minsk Agreements remained lost in the previous years, where no constructive or inclusive dialogue was held between the parties. For this reason, Algeria believes it is very important to take a moment and draw some lessons. In this vein, we would like to focus on the current points. 1. The Minsk Agreements may have failed in achieving the desired outcomes. However, they will undoubtedly remain an example of a bigger failure, namely the failure of the logic of might and confrontation in providing peace and security in the region. This is something that we will continue to point out. The outcomes of the lack of implementation of these agreements on the ground have become today, unfortunately, very visible and tangible given the current situation in the region. 2. These agreements remain an example of the progress that could be achieved through serious, constructive, and inclusive dialogue to recover peace and security. They also remain the best example of the catastrophic outcomes of steering away from diplomacy and dialogue. The Black Sea Grain Initiative and different prisoners exchange agreements are also other examples of what could be achieved through dialogue and negotiations. 3. As members of the Security Council, our main mission and our main goal must remain to continue working hard to provide peace and security to the region. In our view, this could take place by encouraging both parties to engage in genuine dialogues and negotiations. Failure to implement the Minsk Agreements cannot prevent us from drawing inspiration from their spirit. This spirit that chose consensus over confrontation and common understanding over polarization. This is the essence of Algeria's position regarding this conflict, a position we have expressed time and time again in this very room, calling for intensifying diplomatic efforts to achieve just and durable peace based on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, and that takes into account the legitimate security concerns of all parties. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank Algeria for the statement.